We have another amazing person in our group who has collected near 1,000 pieces over the time. So these are artifacts, right? These are very precious pieces. And so around the question of memorializing and how the spaces are being built out, I think there's an opportunity for there to be a curation of those things. Who is collecting them? Where should those things go? Should people want to relinquish some of those things that they have collected over time? Did I miss anything?
The only question.
One last thing, just one last thing. I don't need a mic. There was this whole conversation about the notion of the city of Minneapolis being scared about the process moving forward, not offending people, things of that nature. But I just want to say the city of Minneapolis has profited greatly with millions of dollars, billions of dollars, if you really want to probably get to it, around the death of a black man and also the generations of deaths for black people, specifically in this neighborhood. So to have some kind of narrative that people are scared about how to move and make that an excuse or something, but holding such a massive amount of wealth on the other arm is disingenuous. So please, let's not repeat that kind of narrative.
Will your group stay together until we meet in this large session again to work on the very questions that you have considered tonight, but will have to be answered and will have to be presented, all the information you can gather? Is this group willing to stay together? So take names and phone numbers and whatever you can get, and then we would like to say, how can we help the group to do the work that you have to do between now and the next meeting? It really, right now, remember, there are all the groups, and we'll take the time you need, but try to abbreviate to the best of your ability what you report out on.
That's what I want to take. I got it. Pretty good. Okay, I gotta sit, if that's okay. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. First of all, I want to thank our group. We had great participation, and happy to share our findings with you. Regarding the memorials, there was a high consensus that there needs to be, for any future memorial or memorial considerations, those that have been involved in the existing memorials need to be a part of that process of what those are. We thought that was very important. Of tremendous importance to this group was the place where George Floyd was actually murdered and how that figures into the memorials there, also the infrastructure. It was very important that that space is preserved and honored, and that needs to be a part of any consideration of infrastructure that the city's going to do there. Generally speaking, in regards to memorial, the group felt it was really important that there was an educational component to it. It ties a little bit into what the table was saying over here. Not exploitative, but informative, right? So people from all over the world understand what happened here, the implications, there's learning from it. It's something to apply to the future based on the tragedies of the past. Looking to the People's Way, the feeling was both a need for indoor and outdoor space. With the indoor space serving multiple functions, including and tying into the group over here, curated art that's going in there. There's been, again, a lot of art we know collected from a lot of different places, and having an opportunity to showcase that art. Also believe there needs to be some public service components built in there, including things like restroom facilities for the public to use. Also an outdoor space for gathering was very important as well. Lighting is a big issue across the board to have a real robust lighting component. What else have I missed? That's big from our group.
For the labor not to be solely from volunteers, but then.
Oh, also, yes, for the memorials too, like right now, there's a very dedicated team of caretakers that are taking care of those memorials, but really have that would fall on the city to be preserving and maintaining this. Specifically, the say their names for the cemetery was noted as really in disrepair, and some kind of really immediate attention by people that brought to that would be important.
The Saturday cleanup, so come help.
Saturday cleanup, okay.
Yeah, this Saturday, we're doing a big cleanup for the whole memorial, but including say their names. We're redoing a lot of the tombstones and. Oh, sorry, 9 to 3.
Anything else from the group? I know I'm needing the mic back. That I missed. That's a big point.
You have the contact information for people in your group, and will you stay together through this process to work through the decision, the ideas that you have and the questions that you have? I heard some, yeah, okay, make sure that's why you're gonna collect email addresses and so forth. Yes, this is the group who was in the other room.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you to our group. We had a really nice conversation. We did kind of hit on a lot of things that other groups said, so I'm just going to differentiate and say that we too wanted to memorialize where George Floyd was murdered, as well the Say Their Names Cemetery, and the roundabout held a big place in our group. People feel like keeping the roundabout intact in some ways important because it slows people down and it brings just an innate ability of respect and honoring. The overall feeling that people in our group wanted was to bring this sense of the space being taken care of, and we too want people dedicated for that, and to have it be beautiful, and again having the indoor-outdoor connection. Fountains were a big theme, and as well there was someone in our group who is kind of a master of memorials, and he talked about how we can use because of the lack of space, we could use the height and do things on cables and have a lot of memorials up high. And the other thing that came up that I thought was really interesting was to actually, what about cup foods? What if we were to buy that space and have that be an extension of our memorial? So I'll end there, but really appreciated our conversation.
Thank you. Who?
Who took the lead?
Thanks to my group also, and it's just reiterating just about what everyone's already said. Yes, there should be a memorial, absolutely. That there should be clear directions of how to get over to the cemetery. We didn't get to People's Way, but there was nothing negative said in general conversation.
I think there were a lot of ideas about.
Yeah, everybody had a different idea of what the memorial should be, so come talk to us.
Anybody else got any comments up here? No? All right. This group here.
Are you all, you have the contact information, you're gonna stay together? Very good, thank you, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our group focused primarily on what to do with the People's Way. We highlighted in particular the question or the prompt, what is the desired experience of the People's Way in relationship to the larger George Floyd Square vision? I think that was the most critical piece. So people understood that once we determined the vision, the overall vision for the square going forward, then we could answer the questions about the right-of-way. or begin to lay out some options for the right-of-way, that we could lay out some options for the memorial. There was some consideration of the work that the city had already done in summarizing the learning tables. On the website, it states our shared goals to create a public space for a national racial justice healing center. It seemed like a good beginning point for discussing what the vision should be and orient ourselves to all three categories: the People's Way, the right-of-way, and the memorial.
I asked the same question. You got your contact information? Are you going to stay together? All right.
Hello. So I kind of didn't follow the rules, and we accomplished intros. Because after, oh man, I forgot when the learning tables actually started. Because we've gone over what people envision for memorials and stuff, so those details are kind of boring to me. I wanted to know why people were showing up in our intros, so that we knew what we were doing here, to give us a better idea. If this is going to be a community effort, we need to know where each other's strengths are, so that we can work together and not over each other. So just knowing where everyone's kind of coming from, it'll give us a better foundation of what the values are, of what we want the space to be. And I think hammering on those values, making the connections with people, we can figure out how to loop each other into the various needs that the community needs. And I think that's the most important part, is building community more than the details of a memorial. But a memorial is very important too.
I just want to say that was a really good exercise that he had us go through to introduce, but from that you can deduce exactly what this group found of value in that conversation. It's kind of like when you have a picture from Connect the Dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it makes something. It's that with a nod to our homeless situation. If it's truly a half mile we're talking about, it probably connects to Calvary that has a food shelf. There's got to be a way. I mean, we have food shelves and clothing shelves in George Floyd Square, so there's got to be a way to connect that. Talking about our reform to policing, right? Talking about how we have a respectful area for a community center and bringing in art, which a lot of people have said. Talking about the ability to tell the story through the lens of history with context to show its ultimate impact and hopefully going forward, the potential positive results coming out of something so awful, right? It's being engaged in our community. It's having a love of art and wanting to commit into that, right? And ultimately just projecting it forward, wanting to advance. And so he did a really good job of having us introduce ourselves, but we really did kind of accomplish out of that what we would like to see from that space in general.
Can you hear me? I really want to focus on how we can get the pressure on our mayor and our governor. Regardless of anything, they are responsible for us. We are the communities. We put them in office to help us and our community. And I wouldn't mind being added, our group being added to that. I believe that us as a community can stand together and put more pressure. It's more pressure on the mayor to see us and hear us, because our voice matters. Regardless of anything, I've been at the polls every year, every election, and I would like to put more pressure on the mayor to see things going forward faster, because if you can build a $14 billion apartment complex right next to my house that brings my property taxes up, why can't we see the vision of George Floyd Circle being done today? Thank you. I'm sorry.
The mayor has to have a conscience before he can apologize. Okay? When he realizes that his city and his choices made a mistake, Bobby.
So
I'm
let
sorry.
me, okay, did every group get to report out? All right. There were a couple of things that we want to add for you to take away. And one of them, I'm going to start with the People's Way in terms of a few facts that we would like you to consider. And at some point, we would give you these in writing, but these are some of the facts that you may already know about what the city has done since 2023. One of the things you heard before, and so I'm just going to repeat it, that the city of Minneapolis purchased the People's Way property at 3744 Chicago Avenue, and the community continues to use the space, which is part of the purpose of not having someone from the outside to purchase it. The city will work with community, as you are at this point referring to yourself, to make sure the city transfers the property to a permanent community owner. That is a fact. 2024, the city encourages community members to be a part of the engagement events now, these engagement events, so that you can discuss the vision, and some of these events will become priorities for the People's Way. We've heard things even tonight. When you talk about the People's Way, the things that you have said would become a priority. And the reason that's important is because a RFQ, or a request for, that's right, not a proposal at this point, qualifications. Request for qualifications for who will be the potential developer. The city is saying the potential developer will actually be decided by you. In other words, you put in what the qualifications are, you become a part to the best of their ability to be a part of the interviewing and screening, and be a part of the decision about who will be the developer or owner of the People's Way. The developer or owner. That is a fact.
Can I ask a question? A small question. I'm sorry, a small question. I understand everything you, and I respect you. I just wanted to know how is I know the city purchased the property, but how is the city going to make sure that this was a gas station? How is it going to make sure that the land and the air will not be damaged? Because we live here, and I already.
That's right. But you know, you raised that question. That is not for us in this session a question. It's a statement. And your statement is what? That whoever is the developer will do what you just said. And that's when we say questions. For us, questions become statements. So the statement you've made would go, those things you said would go in the qualification for anyone who takes that on, that you hire, would have to follow what you said has to be done before it's developed. That's what an RFQ allows you to do. Yes.
I do have a question, it's not a statement, but my question is, does the George Floyd family have to sign off on any proposed memorial, or does the city and the community have the freedom to create it without their blessing, and what is their role, and when do we engage them?
I can't answer your question, but I can put the question for you to get it answered.
Good question. The George Floyd family will be
Can you say the question again?
she asked about the blessings from the George Floyd family, right?
We can't just put his name on anything,
So-
right? Without the family saying it's okay?
So the George Floyd family is just now finding out about the redevelopment of 38th Street. And so the George Floyd family wants to be a part of the redevelopment of 38th Street.
And
then how do we engage, or when do we engage them, or how does that happen as part of this process, you know?
Well, let me say, you said that's a question, but I'd like you to put it in a statement. So are you saying the George Floyd family should be? All right, that's a statement. The next thing you're saying is the George Floyd family, you would like the George Floyd family to do what? Don't ask it, say what you think should be their role.
I would like the George Floyd family to be involved and invested emotionally, if there's money financially, to create a memorial that they are proud of and that they think serves the world in his name as they want it to be.
Yes, but now we're talking about the people's way. So when you say you want them to be involved, at this point in time, you're talking about in the people's way, it's development. So keeping that focused on the people's way. Okay, let me just do one other thing. I really love everything you represent. But tonight, I really want you to have the last word, not every word, please.
Let me say,
But just the
I have
last
a
word,
petition
please.
that I've had signed
Yes.
by Auntie, by Bill Floyd, by Tony Floyd.
And what does it say?
It says they like my statue and they approve that one.
I
got it in writing. I showed you the paperwork when you
I don't need to see it, and I think that that's a very good thing to show us.
And I got
tonight.
it. I got signatures on that one.
So here's the next thing that happened in 2020, what happened in 2025. 2025. The city staff will work with community youth to make a recommendation for which of the applicants of the future owner which one is approved. So what they're saying is that this is 2024. It's going to take all of the rest of 2024 to get the RFQ, to get the qualifications, to interview, to find out who, and this is just about the people's way, to find out who you select as the developer or the owner of the people's way. So it's kind of, the reason I wanted to say that is because of the amount of time that it's going to take for these things to turn into that being developed, people's way being developed as you are describing that you want it to be developed. And so when we leave here each time we're together, we want as many of these, what you are calling questions, in statements, so that you can then hold others accountable to the statements you've made, not the questions you have raised. So, what will happen to the building? You will be the one to be involved in that. It won't be a vision, it will be you being involved. Who is the community owner? You will be involved in that. And again, that's the people's way. But it also has to do with if there is a memorial, those same kind of questions that you will be raising will become statements for what the quote-unquote memorial will be. We want to know, we are asking you to say what you mean and mean what you say as it relates to what are you describing should be involved. You become the designer through what you're putting in place. You become the ones who hold accountable those who are building. And the city is saying to you, that's what the city's role will be for now. But the city is also asking you, what do you want their role to be after all of these things that we've just talked about is done? What do you want the city's role to be? People have talked about the money. People have talked about the amount of money the city has. What do you want their role to be? If you can see that there is all of this money there, how do you find that? How do you know it's there? Do you ask the question, do the research, and come forward with what is the money that actually exists within the city that you can see and want to see being applied to these visions that you have?
I got one more vision. Can I ask?
Yes.
Can this be a nonprofit or historical, so no tax can be on this property? That's all I'm saying, because if it's a historical, why are we not asking for it to not be taxable?
We are not, you say what you think it should be. Once again, this is not a question. You want it to be owned by a nonprofit. Is that what I heard you say?
No, I want it to be a historical. Historical, nonprofit gets taxes regardless of a property, but a historical is marked a land that cannot be taxed. That's the difference.
Well, we will give you the facts about what you just said, because I understand what you're saying. Historical preservation has a particular set of things that you have to do with something that's declared in that way. We'll get that information for you as a community, and then you'll be able to put that in what you see as the development and the design. And anything that cannot happen in terms of transparency, what we would like to do as we work with you in the city, what we would like to, we as in this team, what we want to do as we work for you and the city is to bring the facts in this room so you and the city staff who are here will be looking at what are your facts, what are their facts, and how do we put those together so that it becomes the facts, the fact of what's going to happen there. I guess the last thing that we want you to think about as you go in to do the work, there are a couple of questions that Anthony wants to put out for you to really think about as it relates to the memorial and the People's Way. And as a matter of fact, the work that Mr. Bob is talking about, the space. Because that space also is owned by the city. I don't know if you know that. Say the name cemetery. The space, the land is owned by the city. And as a matter of fact, once we start talking about that particular land, you get to determine what can actually be done with it, what should be and will be. So these are the things that the city owns, that is basically the city is turning those ownerships over to you as you then come forward with what do you want to see happen and who will take the ownership, and once again what the qualifications are for the development. Anthony.
So one thing, just to your question, would you all be interested in getting, there has been a project done called an African American Cultural Context for the Twin Cities, for Minneapolis, I'm sorry. Would you all like a copy of that? Because in that document, what has happened is that George Floyd Square has been designated as a place of cultural significance. And so part of what you're describing is happening. So those kind of things, would that be of interest to everyone? Should we email a copy of that? Okay, so that we can do. The other thing that I wanted to kind of ask about, and this group started to get at it, and I think we have 15 minutes left, is that right? 10. So what I'd like you to do, if you can go to your group really quickly, is one of the questions that has come up, and I hear it in different ways, is as we build this, the question I want you to think about is what will we memorialize with what we create? Does that question make sense? And so could you do that in 8 minutes and begin that conversation?
I saw people shake their head like the question didn't make sense.
But I'd say, what will we memorialize? Right? What
about what is being memorialized?
Right.
What is being memorialized? Is it George Floyd's life? Is it his death? Is it all that has happened?
Is it the institutions that have been created as a result of this? Whether it's, somebody talked about, the closet, the tours that are happening, the community response, what are the things that we're memorializing? Over here, a little bit of conversation related to the morning meetings. Are they for everyone? What is that? Do we want to memorialize that? What are the elements of this that we want to memorialize?
And just take a quick moment at that, because it's just the beginning of a discussion about what is being memorialized. Just a quick discussion in your group. And you can make the question one that you will come back with an answer to. You don't have to answer it all tonight. Remember, we will be back together.
All of them are attracted to this. That's why we personally met so many celebrities that come here. You know what I mean?
Right.
We made a lot of celebrities. So that building got to be, it got the outside here, the inside of that building got to represent that. So we're going to
space for that.
It's got that.
Hey, beautiful. Hey, sis. I'm good. How are you? Good. Good to see you.
Is there any more pound cake? They took all pound cake.
They took all the pound cake. Sorry.
We do not ask their permission. We give them our orders, what we want done. Okay? We don't beg the city for nothing. We the people of the district.
To your point, like, how do we capture this moment? Like, whatever. How do we do that? That's a great question. I think that's something to propose to a bigger group around that. I mean, because, this is being filmed right here, and I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, but there should be an official document from a community standpoint, less from people that are actually involved in the economics of it. You know what I mean?
A historical moment, or in this case, how all of us come together, does make sense. It helps just add to the story.
I know about the design process, and when I heard about that, before going to staffing, I was excited. There's no design process here, none. This is a series of projections that you're asking people to address without any guidance to the outcome. Am I being recorded? I hope I am.
Yeah, everybody's being recorded.
There is no design process here. And I will open this up. I don't know how many people from the city are here. I shouldn't have air quoted, I apologize. But I would like to know who's going to compile this and then send it to us. In what format we get this information.
No,
that's not it.
There is a final report supposedly that is coming out. Well, no, it is in writing, December.
Hello, everyone. We're going to now close for the evening with a couple of things. Number one, this discussion that you've just had, please make a note of it, because it's one of the ones you will have to answer, especially as it relates to the memorial or memorialization. Remember that we're trying to make it clear that it's not just a memorial like a center, but the memorializing of what? And so keep the points that you just made in this session. One other big important thing that we continue to run into is who lives immediate or who lives around George Floyd Square. I'd like you to stand, please. Well, just a second. I just mean immediate to George Floyd Square. Within, Anthony's going to tell you within what?
2 blocks. 4 blocks.
You know what? Let's take that think 4 blocks. If you live within 4 blocks of 38th in Chicago, in either direction, north, south, east, or west. Live.
This is live in an apartment or a resident live. Okay?
Or before George was killed.
Well, right now we're just talking about today.
Okay.
If you live there today.
What's the point?
The point is, I would like you to look around and see, because here's the question we get hollered at about. There is nobody who is at these meetings who lives there. Yes, and so we wanted tonight to have you see who is in this room who lives here. And so so that's really, I want you to see how many people. Next distance, Anthony.
How many people live within 8 blocks?
Hey.
So 8 blocks east or west?
2 blocks.
Less than 8 blocks.
All right, you got less than 8.
I'd rather go back to
All right, next. Keep standing.
12 blocks.
North, south, east, west.
Any direction. So that's what I'm saying. If you live within 12 blocks of 38th in Chicago. So a majority of the people live within 12 blocks of 38th in Chicago.
The majority of people in this room tonight live within 12 blocks. And that's one of the things we wanted you to walk away with. Is this is who you are when you say community, you're meaning within this geographic community. And then we have other ways that we'll keep coming back to you to see what do you mean by community. Because it's used a lot. Yes.
Can we call out too that anybody sitting has just as much right to be here though too, because this is everyone's tragedy to some degree, being so multifaceted. I just don't want anybody to feel like, I've had people say, I don't even live in Minneapolis, do I belong here? And I said, you showed up here, you belong here.
Well, one of the things I would like you to do is to pay right now, give the people who are fussing about the geographic communities a chance to stand and just be acknowledged. We're not saying leave anybody out, but we want this group to be really, really significantly involved in every single thing that happens. So we'd like stand and stand and stand. And then you can say, and everybody else who lives further out, have a road, have a way, have some mourning to do. Yes, but for now, we want to know geographically who is living immediate to. And there are others who are not present who also live immediate to. And we will continually ask you to bring someone who lives as close as you do to the meeting. So we want to have, we want to end with that. That's how it works. I want to end.
Uncle Bobby.
You guys sit down. Thank you so much. We're going to be walking out in 1 second. Some last words.
You want me to come to you?
Anytime your goodbye words for the evening. Everybody.
Can we have you guys' attention, please? Thank you. Hey, listen, my name is Andrea Jenkins. I am the city council member for this community. I know one woman says she goes out and votes and support. And believe me, I've been standing up for George Floyd Square since before it was George Floyd Square. And so I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for coming out tonight, for sharing your perspective, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your love for this community. And as one young person said, building community, because that's what we're doing here. We're building community. So thank you all for being here tonight. I just want everybody to thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate everyone. And this community is very sentimental to me and it's very valuable. And I want everybody to know, and I say this all the time, no matter where I go, I even say it to anyone, this was a community before it was a George Floyd. Say it again. This was a community before it was a George Floyd. And I emphasize that all the time. And it's important for you guys to think about that. This was a community. And God chose George Floyd to die in this community for such a change that's going on right now. He didn't die in vain. He was chosen to die. So in this community needed a change and an opportunity, and God chose him. The Bible said, what man would lay his life down for his sister and brother? And that was George Floyd. So I want you guys to remember that and think about it. What was the reason? Because none of us would be in this building. I promise you guys we would not. But none of us even know each other or can't be counting with one another. So it's very important that we do what's right. We stick together, we come together, and we make this community the best thing that we can make out of this community.
I promise you, you will see us again. That's all I can promise is we will be back, and we hope you will too. Thank you all so much. We so appreciate it.